Now you know why there were Yankee fans, the vocal minority maybe, that were rooting against this team to even make it to the postseason after, what we witnessed last night up at Fenway Park as the Yankees get eliminated by the Red Sox and lose the game 6-2 and fall behind early. And the answer to the question we had yesterday about when was the time that Aaron Boone was going to go get Garrett Cole, well, the answer was the third inning.
Yep.
And Cole was bad. And really, that's really where it begins. And I understand he took his lumps after the game and answered and said he's sick to his stomach and said all the right things afterward. Don't want to hear from anybody on the S broadcast after the game about the hamstring. You take the baseball. You know what? There are no excuses for Garrett Cole last night. And Cole was terrible. And, we've said it. You and I have talked about it. I screamed and hollered a week ago after his Blue Jays start. I mean, it comes down to it. He's not the same guy. I mean, let's be honest. He's going to have a hard time of living this one down because they needed their ace to go out there and deliver. Nate Eovaldi was fantastic, a former Yankee for the Red Sox. And you look at what Garrett Cole was last night for the Yankees, and he was awful. I mean, he was awful. You have your ace on the mound, and he can't even get through 3 innings in the game. And he's getting beat by a changeup to Xander Bogaerts to straightaway center field. 97-mile-an-hour fastball, four-seamer, high in the zone that Schwarber gets on top of and tomahawks it into the right field stands. And you're looking at Garrett Cole. It looked like a beaten man before the game. Looked like a completely beaten man during the course of it. How brief that outing was. And I want any Yankee fan out there now to be screaming and hollering about how good Garrett Cole was this year. Last night he wasn't. And he wasn't during the course of the year. If you watch Garrett Cole, his performance last night was not surprising.
He was trending in the wrong direction. And I thought last night after the game when he said something about, he was trying to work stuff out in that Toronto start.
Yeah.
The one that was really bad. And so obviously going into this game I don't know if it's because he lost the location on the fastball or he just didn't have the, I don't want to say guts, but he would not challenge the Red Sox best hitters. He wasn't challenging them. And that's either because he couldn't find it, he didn't have the location, or because he was, not confident in the stuff that he brought to the mound. And you could tell because he tried everything. He was trying everything last night, even in the first inning. There was no holding on to pitches for later on in the outing and trying to surprise guys and lure them in and then catch them with something like in their third time through the order, second time through the order. He emptied the tank early on because he was searching for anything that would work. He was all around awful yesterday, awful. And the thing about why that's so disappointing, we can talk about the contract and talk about the expectations. Moose, you can't have this following you. You can't have this following you where now this is going to be the one thing that he's going to fixate on the entire offseason, and he should. You can't have this follow you that in a big game when the Yankees needed you, 2 big games really, because we can count down the stretch also, and he was really bad in Toronto, and then, but kept the team in the game after giving up 5 runs. And last night couldn't get out of the third inning. It puts stress on the rest of the team. I thought they could still win this game if it was a bullpen game. They tried to steal too many outs with Severino and Loaizaga, Chad Green. It just didn't end up working out for the Yankees last night on a variety of levels. It started with Cole the moment he was chased. And listen, the Yankees tried to claw the momentum back. There was a moment in this game when it looked like they were going to get the momentum back. And obviously, Phil Nevin says Judge. He's out at the plate. And the Red Sox just were like, all right, now we can't be beat.
Yeah, well, and you're right. Well, and there's so much to get into over the course of the game, whether it be the Nevin send, Stanton, the videos beforehand that were sent out, whether it be the stuff from Aaron Boone after the game as well, and where exactly does this Yankee team go after what should be another disappointing end and what was really a disastrous year. There's no other way to cut it. But for Cole here, yeah, it's not a matter of him not being able to handle the moment. He's just not the same guy. Can we all come to the realization that, he's just not like that dominance, that great, that guy that developed in Houston, developed for a reason. I understand he went from a north-south guy, from an east-west guy in terms of attacking the strike zone, but he also, look at the spin rate. The spin rate went up dramatically as compared to where he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he did that because of Spider Tack. That guy's gone. So that's the problem that you have here for Garrett Cole is he got paid. The Yankees paid him. Now he has to reinvent himself once again. Showed you that he couldn't do it consistently over the course of the regular season. Mm-hmm. And then you needed him last night to go out there and deliver. and he could not deliver because he does not trust his stuff. Even though he's throwing the ball 97, 99 miles an hour, the velocity was not the issue last night. It really wasn't. It was all about the location with Garrett Cole. And now he's going to have a hard time living this one down. And the Yankees have got a huge Cole problem because how do you define what Garrett Cole is as a starter now here moving forward about his dominance? He's going to be at the top end. The contract's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. But I think you have to tamper down the expectations of what Cole's going to be.
Well, and let's not also forget, and I thought he was, fine and okay last night, and it was great to have him back, but it's not like you always thought Severino was a slam dunk in the postseason too. So next year you're coming back with Cole and Severino, two guys who have questions about postseason performance, but Severino shouldn't catch a stray here. That's for another conversation. Here's the thing about Cole. I almost think that Yankee fans have to hope that it was the hamstring, right? Maybe the hamstring was playing a factor because then at least you would have more of a reason. I get what you're saying, Moose, about him not being the same pitcher since the spider tack. I understand. Hopefully an off season where he doesn't have to adjust to new things on the fly helps this guy out. But he still had like a whole second half, and he wasn't awful. He just wasn't what you would expect and what you paid for. The thing about last night, and you're right, the velocity was there, but if he didn't have the control, and it wasn't because he didn't have the conviction, but he just didn't have the control, that also is a sign of fatigue. Fatigue comes, and it's not usually the velocity that's the issue. You don't start going from 97 now to throw an 89. It's you can't have the location. So I don't know if it was a little of the hamstring. Doesn't matter. No excuses. But I think Yankee fans secretly hoped it was because at least then you'd have an excuse.
Yeah, but what was the excuse in June and July? When his ERA was over 4. But
over 4 and over 6 are two different things.
I get it, but over 4 is not. You're not paying you're not paying $324 million to have a guy that has an ERA over 4.
I get it.
You're just not. You're paying that to have a guy that's got an ERA under 3 or under 2.5 or under 2. That's what you're paying him to be, and he is not that guy.
Oh, it's
and
a
that's
problem.
Fine. Listen, I am. Here's the. You take the ball. There's no excuses. Like that. That's it. You take the ball. There's no excuses. I watched John Smoltz pitch with a partially torn rotator cuff and dominate. I've seen guys go out there and pitch hurt and play really, really well, right? And pitcher, I've seen other guys go out there and fail. No excuses, though, afterward. Like, I can't hear about the hamstring being used as an excuse after that start last night. I know he did,
right.
But other people around were using that. Oh, I don't know. Maybe his hamstring wasn't all the way back. Nonsense. Absolutely and completely nonsense. Let's stop babying the guy that's you paid $324 million for, who has accomplished nothing here in a Yankee uniform, who wants to tell you how brilliant and how much of a tactician he is on the mound, being able to outthink lineups, right? Because that's the perception of Garrett Cole. But honestly, let's look at the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is when he doesn't have his A+ stuff, he has nowhere else to turn. Mm-hmm. He really didn't.
He was searching.
He wanted to beat the Blue Jays with the fastball. That came back to haunt him. What about last night? You get beat with your changeup to Xander Bogaerts, who hits it to straightaway center field. That is what you're doing if you're Garrett Cole in pitch selection last night with you and Kyle Higashioka. So that's the concern right now I have here for Garrett Cole is, okay, so if he's got the hamstring to use as an excuse, I'll tell you this, it still doesn't resolve the issue of what he is exactly going to be as a starter. You're paying him to be a certain guy. I think that guy's long gone.
Well, and you know what? Yes, you should direct your anger towards Garrett Cole because he's not coming through in the big moment for you and he's the guy and wanted this and all of it. But at the same time, I can't help but think it's also got to be on the Yankees because you had a guy who was loading up the baseball and you gave him $324 million. Yeah. And Brian Cashman said he's never heard of spider tack until like 6 months ago. That's got to be crap. It's like, I'm not saying that he's lying. I'm just saying that seems impossible because of the depositions that came out and the emails and all of that stuff.
You know what's amazing about Major League Baseball is this, and I think it's a great point that you just brought up, Maggie, is like baseball knows everything about everything when they want to know something about something. Right. And they know nothing about anything when they don't want to know about it. Like that, it's amazing when you look at it where it's like, everybody, whether it be about guys and what they're doing away from the baseball field, whether it be about teams loading up the baseball, whether it be about what the Houston Astros were doing. It's amazing how baseball basically can find out anything about anybody in the game, if you're working in the game, about anything when they want to know. But when they don't want to know, listen, I had no idea that was going on. I had no idea. I was just as dumbfounded as you. I couldn't believe what was going on. And that excuse has got to go by the wayside because you're right. I mean, I don't think they probably expected the crackdown by Major League Baseball and Spider Tech, but there had to be.
Luck.
I mean, the analytics department had to look at him and say, well, what exactly is Garrett Cole doing differently now with his spin rate being up to the going up by 10, 20% as a member of the Astros as compared to where he was with the Pirates.
Listen, and the guy hit free agency at the right time, and the Yankees couldn't wait to give him all that money. So you got to hope that you don't get burned by that. Not saying that Garrett Cole is not going to contribute for the Yankees. I mean, we got a whole thing to unpack. We've got a whole season. We've got that was not enjoyable to watch, that was frustrating, that honestly last night, Moose, was a fitting ending for the Yankees if we're all being truly honest with ourselves, because it was another game where the Yankees no-showed. And we've had so many games like that this season. I always said this year, the bad stuff was easier to believe with the Yankees because there were moments when, and games and stretches, when they would just not show up in the moment and they would never get the last laugh, never be the one who you could just say, like, wow, this team has really turned it around. It was fool's gold this whole time. And last night was almost the perfect embodiment. You had your expectations on your ace. He failed. Your offense could not get anything going at all outside of Giancarlo Stanton. You had a base running error. But the coaching staff, whatever, blame them for it. It totally changed the momentum of the game. And ultimately, the Boston Red Sox, a team who are expected to do nothing this year, who you are basically neck and neck with all season long, came to play in that game. They were better, sharper, smarter.
No doubt.
This is the Yankee season in 2021.
Yeah, it was
flat.
They were. It was a flat ending to the year. It really was. A lot to get into with you. Cole gets us going early here. We'll get into the Boone comments after the game. Brian Casher, what this organization needs to do. The hype video by Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, there is so much to unpack. Get into the game. Phil Nevin and his decision, amazingly enough, send Aaron Judge to home on the Stanton, rocket shot
with one
off
out.
Of the Green Monster with one out with him, and we'll get to the lineup as well.
We should do that too.
It's Moose and Maggie just getting going. 10:15 here on this Wednesday midday. 877-337-6666.